Hi, I'm Sara Holloway from Bull Run Library, and I'm going to demonstrate for you the very important skill of sewing on a button. How many of you have taken a shirt or a pair of pants or a skirt out of the closet to put on, and then you realize, oh, I'm missing a button? And then either you find a way to get around it, or you put the garment aside, or you, in some cases, depending on how frustrated you are, you throw it away. When in fact, it's fairly simple to sew on a button. So you need thread. You can get a sewing kit. You can usually find them in a grocery store. Well, you could find them in a grocery store or a drugstore, or even maybe Walmart or Target, and it will have a needle, a pair of scissors, and several different colors of thread. White, black, blue, cream, red are usually the colors that you most often will need. And in this case, I'm going to need white. Now, it's really important sometimes if you can find where the button was, because you want to sew it back on in roughly the same spot where it was before. Okay, so you measure out a length of thread, and I can't really demonstrate it, but I usually extend my arm and then cut the thread so that the thread is as long as my arm. You may not need all of that, but then you'll have a needle that is threaded to use again when you lose another button. The hardest part of the whole process is threading the needle. And I happened to pick up a needle that has a small eye, which was not wise on my part. So you're going to see me struggle here for a few minutes to get the needle threaded. Like I said, this is probably the hardest part of the entire process. Aha, do I have it? Yes, okay. So when you pull the thread through the needle until you have it, basically the length of thread that you cut off is in two equal sections, and then you tie several knots at the end of the thread. Let me get my hands here so that you can see, because you don't want the end of the thread to come through the cloth. Okay, that should be enough. Okay, so I have my button. I have roughly, I can see the space where it was before. So I hold the button in place and go around to the back of the fabric and try not to poke my finger too much. I come through one of the buttonholes. And this may be the second hardest thing that we do this evening. Because you really don't want to stab yourself. Another way to do it is to go ahead and poke the needle through. And then put the button through, so you're not hunting around for a button, for the hole in the button. And then what I'm going to do is make a series of X's. So I'm going to go from one hole diagonally across to the other hole, and I'm going to do this several times, provided I can get here we go, my needle through the appropriate holes here. And you just do this and you pull it tight. I mean, you want to, you want to be able to get the come on. I assure you, if I were not filming this, it would go much faster. Okay, there we go. So again, I'm going to make several X's. And I have a little bit of thread there. It doesn't want to lay flat, which is annoying. And I'm going to do one more round for good measure. But I've taken all this time to sew the button on. I don't want it to come off again. Okay, so I've made several X's with my thread. That's the old thread. There we go. So then on the back here, I'm just going to make a couple of loops through the fabric. To discourage it from unraveling. And then I'm going to cut the thread. I'm going to leave a little bit there. And then I'm going to tie a knot. Provided I can get this around my finger. Okay, so I've made a knot, cut off the excess, and voila, I have sewn on a button. You may also notice that here at the end there are extra buttons. There's a collar button and an extra button in case one falls off. You'll find this most often in men's shirts, not so much ladies. So now we have a nicely mended shirt, and now you can know how to sew on a button.